Chapter 21. Gaping Triangles.
Oh, bollocks!
Thomas mumbled, his face collapsing onto the table as alcohol had last night flooding back.
What have I done?
His glass tipped, and 30 pounds of French Merlot spilled across the tablecloth. Before Murchison could point this out, Thomas let out the sort of wail that their dinner probably uttered when slaughtered.
Oh, for the love of bitumen, what have I done?
You realise I'll have to charge you for this, said Murchison, wringing out a sodden napkin in an effort to reclaim some of it. Thomas looked up.
I think I might have made the biggest mistake of my life.
What, more than writing your books?
She was trying to help me, and God knows why. Even I wouldn't bother. But Janice did. She cared. Janice made the sort of effort that most people charge for.
Well, I'm pleased we've sorted that out. Now,
you don't understand, Murchison. She really tried to help me, and I need her friends in the bollocks.
Murchison and Jameson stared at him.
You what? I need them in the bollocks. I think one went green.
Who the hell did you knee in the bollocks, Thomas?
He thought again. I think it was the host and some bastard who liked cows.
You need 2 men in the bollocks! Thomas nodded, while biting his lip in punishment. He would have put a fork through it, but after 3 glasses of French Merlot wasn't confident of his aim.
What are you, a 7-year-old girl?
Thomas shrugged that he may as well be.
So let me get this straight, said Jameson.
You went to a party with someone who's helping you, and then assaulted the host and one of his guests.
Yes, I think so. It's hard to remember. I do recall a distinct lack of walls.
Thomas, Murchison said, I think it would be a good idea for you to see Dr. Marjorie again, don't you? He got out his phone and began scrolling.
You're not making an appointment for me now, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm looking to see if I've missed any calls from the authorities last night. And I'll tell you one thing, if I have to deal with one more restraining order against you, I'm going to take one out on you myself.
I didn't knee them in the bollocks on purpose. It was instinctive.
How can kneeing someone in the bollocks be instinctive when you're a 35-year-old man? Swore Jameson.
They were trying to punch me. It was self-defense.
No, it wasn't. Self-defense is when you punch them back, not knee them in the bollocks. That's shameful.
No, said Thomas. What's shameful is the way they've been tearing me apart in the media. The host deserved it. He writes for The Guardian.
They were journalists?
Murchison gasped.
Thomas nodded. Are you mad? What the hell were you doing with journalists?
Well, don't have a go at me. I didn't even want to go. I wanted to stay home and explore new religions.
So why the hell didn't you?
Because Janice insisted I go. She thought it would help.
Murchison glanced at Jameson in a manner that had the latter gather cutlery. But surely even you could see that was like putting your head up the lion's ass.
Of course I did, said Thomas, and I tried to tell her, but she wouldn't listen.
What do you mean she wouldn't listen? Who the hell is this woman, your mother?
No, my mother's never thrown a party for me in my life. She's thrown things at me, but not for me.
Save it for Dr. Marjorie, Thomas.
Listen, Janice has been helping me, all right? She's been trying to crowdfund the editing of my books.
She's been what? Is she mad? Doesn't she realise that's soon to be a criminal offence?
Thomas stared at him, shattered. What do you mean? I thought you were confident we could win this. The 3 stared at each other, open-mouthed, like a sort of gaping triangle.
Listen, said Jameson, dividing another bottle between their glasses. There's a simple solution to this. Oh, I agree, said Murchison. Unfortunately, it's illegal. Messium requires a shovel.
No, I mean about last night. He looked at Thomas. I take it from your demeanour that you regret kneeing these men in the bollocks?
Oh, God, said Thomas, his forehead plunging to the table. You're not going to go all Jesus and gospel on me, are you?
No, but because I won't accept anything into my heart, Jameson. Just so you know, I'm not remotely religious. When I mentioned exploring religions, I meant one's condemning parties.
No, Thomas, I meant you could apologise.
He lifted his head. What?
You could apologise. Apologise? Yes, said Jameson, who frowned. You seem surprised. Have you not heard of apology? It's an age-old method of reconciliation. I've heard of it, Jameson. I just don't think it's a very good idea. It's a damn sight better than kneeing men in the bollocks, said Murchison. How could it not be a good idea? Asked Jameson. It's simple, for a start, and doesn't require a shovel. Have you seen how they treat me in the papers? They crucify me if I went anywhere near them again, let alone anywhere near their bollocks. Jameson stared at him. Not to them. I don't mean apologise to them. I mean apologise to Janice. To Janice? Yes. Thomas looked away. Apologise? Jameson leant back in his chair. I'm having difficulty understanding which part of the concept you're struggling with. Do you find the notion threatening, perhaps? Of course not. I can apologise easily. I have to. I'm forced to do so on a daily basis. I've been apologising my entire life, Jameson. Good. Well, that's settled. He picked up his glass. Tomorrow, go and apologise to the woman, but now let's talk business before a taxi ferries me from this madhouse to the sanity of somewhere else entirely. I have a headache, Thomas said, slouching again. I really don't want to talk about anything. Can't I just sign a form or something? We'll keep things simple, Thomas, said Murchison. But you need to be informed of our advice. It's why we've been given this final adjournment. I don't mind signing a form, really. I look forward to them. It's the only bit of writing I get to do nowadays. Often I pretend I'm signing autographs. Jameson is remarkably talented when it comes to unprecedented lawsuits, Murchison said. We're fortunate to have permission to use him so late in proceedings, though the court could hardly refuse considering the size of the prosecution. I find the unprecedented offers remarkable scope for innovation, Jameson agreed. Commonly, procedure and argument depends on cases that have been heard before. It gives example to quote from and offers structure, counsel and guidance, and to some degree comfort for those arguing their case. The unprecedented, however, doesn't. Is this going to take long? Thomas said. Because I suspect this sort of talk encourages alcohol consumption in almost biblical quantities. Unprecedented lawsuits offer something far more powerful, Jameson continued, ignoring him. There is no structure or example to draw upon. Instead, it must be created. But most importantly, in the unprecedented, there is no comfort. Well, you see, I'm rather keen on comfort because I've had very little of it in my life, although I do have a growing conviction that I'll find it in alcohol. He lifted his drained glass so it might be filled again, but Murchison didn't move to do so. Jameson leant forward to explain. Thomas, the prosecution's argument is that your books are so utterly ghastly that their very existence lowers the standard of literature itself. That your book's existence threatens not only the publishing industry as a whole, but the well-being of individuals who try and read the things. It's a very simple and very powerful argument. Thomas made a sad, gurgling noise from the tabletop. In fact, your books are considered so dreadful, Jameson continued, that the industry's concerns go beyond the book simply being badly written. They're arguing that although no reader can get through their convoluted mass of self-indulgent nonsense, the threat remains in the book's existence, full stop. As a consequence, it's not enough to destroy all copies. It's not enough to remove them from shelves. It's the fact that they were written in the first place that is so dire. I know all this, Thomas murmured. I've heard it every week for the past 6 months. This adjournment, Thomas, is to ensure you understand the situation. Now, the prosecution is suggesting your books are more damaging, more dangerous, and more of a threat to the well-being of the population of this planet than the bubonic plague in tablet form. Inasmuch, in order to protect the publishing industry and the reading public at large, it is not a question of destroying your books, nor is it a question of ensuring they are never published again. It is a question of ensuring you are not permitted to write anything at all, ever again. I know this, said Thomas, and it's really unfair. I'm a writer. Writing is what I do, even if I'm writing wrongly. I can't do anything else. It's my air, despite it stinking like warm garbage on a cold day. Exactly, and this is the crux of our defense. By forcing you to stop writing, they are denying your need to create, and that denies your right to express yourself as a human being. Thomas looked up from the table and tried to focus on one version of Jameson. Yes, but the problem is that they're portraying me as being less than a human being, that I'm mad, this psycho-into-writers thing, that I'm socially dangerous. Last night you kneed 2 men in the bollocks, Thomas, said Murchison. Yes, but only because I was told to get some friends. You've also had 4 restraining orders in the last 6 months. Oh, that's hardly fair. You know perfectly well that 2 of those were downgraded harassment charges. What it comes down to, Thomas, Jameson continued, is that to counter their argument, we need to crucify you. Thomas stared at him. I thought you said this wasn't a Jesus thing. It isn't. I mean, we have to flay you alive in court. Right. I don't think we need to take you apart and show them how little a threat you really are. We need to show you as the socially inept, emotional cripple and complete wanker that you are. Because if you are a barely functional human being, then your writing cannot be anything other than mindless drivel. Yes, look, it follows, therefore, that we can argue that their interpretations of your work to the contrary is more a reflection on those making such claims. What? We can argue that the literary establishment's allegations that your work threatens the literary establishment discredits the establishment itself. Thomas blinked at him. The more the industry rants and raves about how dangerous and dreadful you are, buggering you in papers and shafting you on television, the more they'll be discredited. There was silence when another triangle formed. Other diners got on with their meals and their lives, whereas the triangle's table suspended both momentarily. What did I tell you, Thomas? Said Murchison. Aren't you now pleased to have come? That's such encouraging news, said Thomas, with tears welling, that I fear I may well have.